All right, all right, all right. Hey, it's me, it's Eric, and it is Wednesday. It's 3 p.m. Eastern, and yeah, so feeling a little bit better today. Not as kind of tired, so not as low energy as I felt yesterday. Actually, today I've been doing a lot of work here in my studio, working in my big journal, and kind of focusing, or at least part of the time, I was focusing on. Um, this idea of emergence and kind of worked on a page that I'd started in that journal. So this is not just something that I'm exploring in this journal. It's a bigger theme in my art. So it's something that I've been kind of reflecting on over the past, couple months or so. So anyway, so I kind of feel like I'm a little bit more energized today and have kind of a clear idea of kind of where, at least how I want to get started with today. So anyway, if you're tuning in and you want to say hi in the comments, it's always great to see who is out there. So it looks like Sherry's already um, said hi. So anyway, um, yeah. So like I was saying, I was working in my bigger journal, kind of had this notion kind of going on. So I want to work a little bit more with words today, and then maybe like really thinking about how I can start to put in um, some words, some phrases, some things, because words are very important, and I haven't really used them too much in the little journal. So anyway, let me go ahead and switch this over, and we'll kind of see where things take me today. So of course I have my little journal. I've got my paints and everything, but and off to the side you can't really see. I do have some stencils in case I want to use them, but kind of thinking about thinking about this and um, you know I've been, like I said, I've used Word, so I have the I am, and I've used the tracing paper that I wrote on. That I think that was the very first week, so a couple weeks ago. And then I used some of the magnetic poetry that I scanned and printed out. So I have been using words, but really kind of thinking, well, trying to get at the heart of sort of what this emergence really means to me, and what my artwork is really kind of becoming about. So I think it was like the second day or so. I was kind of thinking about it, and I wrote on some index cards. But I think what I want to do now is I got out some other blank index cards because I want to write some things down before I kind of put them um, into my book. So just kind of thinking about that, and this is coming from, I think I mentioned it yesterday or sometime this week, that on the YouTube, on my YouTube channel, somebody was watching these videos, the recordings of the live streams, and mentioned the word crevasse. And so, I've been calling the paintings I've been doing over the last few months cracks, and I joked about, like, releasing the Kraken, but I don't think that the idea of a crack really kind of embodies what I'm really trying to get at. And when I was talking about that word crevasse, I mispronounced it and said crevice, which they're all related. Um, but really thinking about a crevasse is a really deep crack, thinking about like glaciers and things like that. So just that notion of crack. So what I'm doing is kind of, I have this idea of emergence, and then thinking about how that has, well, actually the crack paintings led to the word emergence. Now coming back to the notion of a crack. So I've got the crevice, I've got the crevasse. Just kind of, I think what I want to do is do like I did before with the word emergence, and just sort of brainstorm that notion of crack and what kind of comes up. So anyway, I'm just going to take a few minutes to kind of make a list. I don't know how long it's going to be, but just sort of make a list of um, of words and phrases that I'm associating with that notion of crack or crevasse or crevice. And I think that's kind of how I'm going to start out today. Um, all right, so I've came up with a list of some ideas. Actually, some of the things are exactly what I came up with whenever I was thinking about emergence. So there's definitely some overlap there. Um, but there are some things that came up that I hadn't really thought of before. And one of those things I've taught with the word emergence, I have like break out, break free. But one of the things that came up is this idea of breaking apart. And I just kind of feel like that's a little bit different. So breaking out, breaking apart. Almost think of like a bird hatching from an egg, and that, it's like you've got this very hard shell. Actually, just like that word shell. And that's breaking and cracking. Um, And then I peeked at the list I had from Emergence and saw the word gold, and that kind of reminded me of a vein, like a vein of gold, when you're mining for gold. I like that. Um, I came up with a couple phrases: crack in the armor, crack in the facade. Um, so it's, to me, this idea of emergence of the crack is really that, what has been is cracking apart, is breaking apart, and revealing something new, something different underneath. Um, but then also, I think that idea of cracking, also the notion of repairing. And so with some of the paintings I've been doing, I've been using gold, like gold paint, and thinking about the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So So I think I want to take some of these notions, these ideas, and start to include them somehow. And I like the fact that I am, and I can see, the word breaking there, and then maybe breaking. I like the notion of breaking apart. So maybe a part is there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Find my stencils. So I think these are the same stencils I used before. Yep. And so grab the same pen. I think that's the same. Actually, it might not be. I think this. See, I have too many things. All right. So yeah, I use this darker pen. Okay. And then breaking. So I think I may have mentioned when I was stenciling the words I am, that I don't really lay this out. So, but if if you're using stencils, or if you're doing lettering of any sort, and you want it to be straight, you can always use a guideline. My biggest thing is that I misspell words all the time. Sorry, I was reaching. I have another one of these, a newer one. So I think this is the older one. The ink isn't flowing as much, but still working. So I'm going to use that. I think I'm going to do all uppercase. I like that idea that, this starts out like a regular sentence. I am, and the am is in lowercase, and then maybe all uppercase to emphasize that idea of breaking. And I think just all of this is all this notion of emergence. I just kind of feel like, I think I maybe always feel this way, but just kind of, I'm always in this constant state of becoming. You're always becoming more than what you are, feeling like you're breaking with the past. And there are things that have happened recently where I just sort of realized that who I was in the past, what I felt was important, especially a long time ago, maybe isn't as important, and who I am is very different now than who I was. And that feeling, and also I feel like with the pandemic, I've been pretty much in at home for the last year. Yeah, I've gotten out to go to the store, and I work part-time managing a local art center, but I feel now like, especially with the spring, that there are definitely things that are things are changing. Feel like there's with all the people out and about, you would think that the pandemic was completely over. But journaling has always been a way for me to kind of process things in my life. Now, I'm not a certified therapist, so I'm in no way offering any kind of therapy. But just, I know for me and from a lot of other people, that journaling is definitely a way to help explore what's going on. And it's hard for me to separate art and life, and my life influences my art, and my art influences my life. I find it, I just feel like that word emergence is such a important theme for not just my art, but my life right now. And I think back to the beginning of the year. So, how so many people sort of pick a word for, this is my word for the year. They usually do that in January. And, but I kind of always feel like, to sort of have a word for the year or to have a theme for the year, I kind of feel like you want the be into the year a little bit. And I've never done that. I've never had like a word of the year, and I don't necessarily think of emergence as that word of the year, but I do feel like it's a theme or an idea that's definitely been bubbling and brewing. And so Francis is asking if I left my teaching job. Yeah, so I'm no longer a public school teacher, but I teach. Um, I teach online, and I do have that class that starts this weekend. And I work with a lot of schools and teachers and things. But yeah, I'm no longer in teaching public school. So while I'm just stenciling in these words, just remind folks that if you're working on art, you're working on something. And if you feel like it, I would love to see what you're working on. It's I'm doing this not because I expect people to come and kind of do what I'm doing, but uh, just to kind of give people a space to come and work on art. And if they want to take some of the ideas that I'm doing and use that as inspiration, awesome. So some folks have shared over the last couple weeks, but if you are working on something and you want to share, definitely love seeing what people are doing. So stenciling is definitely one of my favorite ways of adding words and letters and numbers to my journals. I don't have the best handwriting, and definitely not a good letterer. I have I have my own distinct way of writing, and I like it, but it's definitely not I don't have an elegant or graceful hand, as they might say. Um, but it's like I do use my own handwriting and my own style. But I think stencils are a great way, and there's so much you can do using it with the ink or using it with paint. Um, but I like this idea. I like this little journal because the message can go from one page to another. So when you see that I am, then it just sort of stops. And if you don't turn it right away, you just sort of ponder that, and then you see the word breaking, and then apart, and it kind of seems doesn't seem like a good thing whenever you kind of read just that little phrase. But I kind of like it there, because then what comes out, what comes after that. So on this page we have habits of thought, experiment, investigate, embrace. So anyway, starts to have some kind of message, starts to give me more direction. um, I think I want to come back to this page. So was it yesterday? Seems so long ago. It was one of the days, yesterday, day before. I thickened up the lines there, and I think I want to go back. I want to bring that out a little bit more. So I think I want to go back and I can paint. So I have a dark blue here, and I think I'm just going to paint around. And that slightly darker blue will help those leaf-like shapes kind of pop out a little bit more. But also allow the layers underneath to show through. So as I'm sitting here painting, my mind just can't help but sort of turn over what I was thinking about and what I was writing about, and also what I was talking about. And so that idea of breaking, I just started thinking about, like, you end up breaking with the past as you grow into the future. So that's definitely something that I need to jot down. Actually, I'll do that right now before I forget. So I just find that when I spend some time like this working in the journal, especially if I have something on my mind, it just allows, like, just a simple painting, just allows me to mull it over. And I've mentioned that before, but I kind of feel like doing the writing first off kind of helped prime me and get me thinking, and then just sitting here now painting, I don't have to give it a lot of conscious thought. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like how those little leaf-like shapes pop out more. Eventually, if I want them to be a little bit more emphasized, I might even go in. This has some white, and it's funny, white watercolor paint. I know technically this isn't watercolor, but it acts just like watercolor. Um, so it's kind of weird. I've always thought it was weird because usually with watercolor, if you want white, you leave the paper white. But with this, it's not super opaque, so I could paint over it and just bring out, a little light in those areas a little bit. But I might as well go ahead and do this on the back too. Just want to bring a little bit of this dark blue over here, and I thought, oh, I might as well go ahead and paint around the light bulb. That might help that light bulb pop out a little bit. Just thinking about this little sentence, I am breaking apart. And then I have on this page, habits of thought. And I was just thinking, I like that word reveal. And so thinking about like, I am breaking apart, revealing, and then habits of thought could be kind of part of that. So I think what I'll do is I'll write it in with my regular handwriting. And let's switch up the pen. So I want a slightly thicker pen. I'm thinking about my regular handwriting since the habits of thought is regular handwriting, but I want it to be a little bit bigger. So yeah. So that's really thin, really hard to kind of read. Down here, habits of thought was a little bit easier to read because I used that silver gel pen and outlined it with black ink. With this, I think I just want to use the black ink. And what I do is I'm just going to go over my letters. So I find that's a real easy way of using your own handwriting as a way to do the lettering. And so by just thickening the lines, I can, just really have that stand out now. Okay. So thinking about that, I picked up the pink pen, which is what I used to write there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna do something. It's one of my favorite things to do when I do writing like this. I like to outline it, but what I try to do is I try to stay the same distance away. And then what happens is I end up going around the whole word. A little bit difficult there at the center of the book. So that way I'm not just outlining each letter. I end up going around the whole word. And so then the word has this shape around it. And sometimes I leave it like that, and other times I do what I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab my ink tints and grab my fuchsia. This is a color that I've been using a lot. And so just by shading, just like I've done before, when I've done this with the leaf shapes one time, I did it with circles and squares. Just creates a little bit of a shadow. The nice thing is that I have all this stuff easily accessible. And so, my stencils are off on the side here, and I've got my paint here, and I've got my pencils and pens over there. And so that way, as I'm working, if I get this idea, I don't have to stop and go to a different part of my studio and grab something. So that way everything is just right here, easy to get to. Okay. Brush. So journaling can definitely bring out a lot of personal thoughts, personal issues. Sometimes it brings out things that we don't want anybody else to see, and no one has to see it. That's the nice thing, is that I do this and readily share it with folks, but I know some artists who they've told me like, oh yeah, I keep a visual journal and it's very mixed media and I do all kinds of stuff in it. They're like, but I don't show it to anybody because it's so personal. And I often get asked about that. Do I find myself censoring myself, like maybe not putting things in there because I know people are going to see it? And I don't know. I mean, I don't think I do. I mean, I've always freely shared my art with people. Um, ever since I was a kid, when I was drawing, it was one of the things I loved to do, was to share what I was working on. And then um, when I got into journaling, it's like I shared a lot with my students when I taught elementary and at the high school level. Of course, I share with my students, the adult students that I have now, share with you all right here. Um, so I don't know, but yeah, it definitely can reveal things that we don't want to see. So, a little while ago, I encouraged people to kind of share images of things that they've done if they're comfortable. So if you've done something, you're like, oh, I don't want anybody to see that. You know, definitely don't have to share. Okay. So I feel like this is starting to get direction. When I look at this page, this really stands out. So later I'll kind of think about other things I might add to that to really um, kind of help balance that out. So like right now, that just because it's real dark and then that little bit of fuchsia around it, the bug stands out a lot. This picture stands out a lot, but I'll worry about kind of tying them together a little bit later. But I think that starts to give me direction. I feel like, okay, I think I know where this is going, but I don't have a roadmap. I don't know everything that's going to end up in here. And I really love how some of these random words start to suggest meanings, and maybe we'll take things in a different direction. But yeah. But yeah, really feel like I've got a direction going. And I think that's kind of a good stopping point. All right. So, yeah, I appreciate you being here. And like I said, journaling can become a pretty personal thing. So um, I don't mind sharing that kind of stuff with you all. And I appreciate you being here and allowing me to do that. But I think for me, it's just this is a slow process. It's that it's something that I come to slowly. I don't sit down with like fully formed notions, and um, it just kind of comes about. So it's through that work, and in classes before, and maybe even here on live streams and sharing videos and such, that I really believe that meaning is in the making, and that even if we do have a very particular notion in mind when we sit down, things tend to not go the way we planned, and um, that it goes its own direction, and we kind of create that meaning. So anyway, I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to be here again tomorrow, same time, and yeah, I can't believe it's already, I think this was day 13. So appreciate you being here, and if you have any questions, comments, post them in the comments, and well, you'll see me tomorrow if you tune in, and but I'll be here, and hope to catch up with you tomorrow. All right, as always, happy creating, and thank you for being here.